Hi, I'm Caroline Brady, a member of the Fundamental Equity Impact Investing team at BlackRock. I'm responsible for our impact management and research within the group. I'm joined today with Eric Rice, our pioneer of impact investing in the public equity space and our head of impact investing at BlackRock.
Hi, Caroline.
So in this series, we'll be discussing all things impact investing, from the origination of impact investing back close to 10 years ago, through to how we identify impact companies and where we see the industry going, as well as what does impact investing aim to achieve in the global markets. So Eric, would you like to give an insight into your background?
Sure. Thanks, Caroline. It's actually a pretty long journey in the sense that when I started out, there wasn't such a thing as impact investing, of course. And after university, I went to be in the Foreign Service. I went to Rwanda and I supported our aid mission there. And that gave me a taste for development, which is how we referred to it, development economics. I went and did my PhD in development economics, and then I went to the World Bank. And that was sort of the dream of what was available to do 30 years ago when I came out of school, that you could work in an aid mission or you could work in philanthropy, could work in your government's aid project. But what happened is I found myself in investment after a time and wanting to find a way to put those two things together. And about 15 years ago, I was noticing friends of mine doing impact investing in the private markets or who were social entrepreneurs. And I thought, that's so fascinating. I wonder what we can do with that. And I'm an investor in the public markets. And there was no impact investing in public markets. And I thought, that doesn't make any sense. Why should it be that you have to have $1 million of investable funds and you have to be able to lock it up for 5 years or more to invest for good?
So in terms of the journey that we've seen within impact investing, getting from that origination of ideas where you really were able to spur the idea of impact investing from working as a development economist and working in Rwanda, to now where we have the broad definitions that are more broadly cited of impact investing as being this vehicle and investment style that can drive capital towards helping solve for some of the world's most pressing challenges. Now, the citation that we have and how we think about impact investing is the identification of companies that have a measurable and positive social and/or environmental impact on people and the planet. And I think it's important that delineation between what we think about as ESG investing as well as how we think about impact investing. I think it's important to, before we dive into more of the content on impact investing, to really try to draw out the differences between ESG investing and impact investing. So the way we think about it within our team, ESG investing, is really looking at those companies who are operating with sound business structures, strong management structures, thinking about transition to a lower carbon economy. This is really about the operations of a business. And irrespective of the sector that that company is operating in, they're able to have strong E, S, or G characteristics based on how they operate, how they think about human capital management. Whereas when we move to impact investing, and thank you for creating this for us in the public market space, we are moving more to outcomes. What are these companies that we're selecting doing through their products and or services that are helping to tackle and solve for great world challenges that aren't currently being met? And hopefully that can help bring more flavor and color into the decisions that some of our clients and customers are making around what types of investment vehicles to select. We need both of these styles of investing to be able to move forward and progress. Now, in terms of examples, I know we always find it helpful to bring examples to the fore on what is a good ESG company versus what is a good impact company. Now, can you give me a good description of maybe one of your company examples that you often talk about that helps delineate those differences between strong ESG but not impact, and that maybe might help the audience think through these differences?
Sure. Well, ESG is very broad. You've laid out the sort of, it's about how a company operates, not what its goods and services are. Everything could be better along that ESG scale. The word ESG didn't exist when we started. And so it's something that's sort of a cousin to what we do. We like companies that behave well, but our companies are focused on their products. So an example from the UK is a company that does remittances. Okay, it happens that they are good to their employees and that their carbon footprint is good. But what we really care about for them most is that they have taken the remittance industry that costs a huge fraction of whatever an immigrant sends home from the UK back to their own country. I mean, the numbers are horrifying of how much of a cut the remittance companies take. Now they're offering that at approximately zero. And this is transformative for its clients. And so that's the kind of company we look for. That's a UK company that we've invested in.
When we've built our strategies and our products and the frameworks that we have for impact investing, the first step and when I was learning and on my journey of learning about impact investing and what you had designed, it was incredibly important to me to see that the intentionality of the investor had come at the very early design stages of fund creation, product creation, where you started with really going deep on the research of what are the world's most pressing challenges, and then fitting in what are the solutions to those challenges. What can companies actually do to fit the needs that is required? Now, that isn't often the way round that investment strategies have been made in the past. Can you talk to the creation of these impact themes that you have?
So I'm smiling because when we started, some of these things that seem so second nature to us, UN SDGs, that didn't exist either. So we did a whole proof of concept effort for most of a year, figuring out what are the themes that you could invest in? What are the real problems? And what are they on the environmental side? What are they on the social side? Yep. And so we were really just working in the dark, figuring this out. And then a few years later, when the UN SDGs were put out, we looked and said, that maps pretty well to what we've done. And we're a little more broad, like cybersecurity is an area that we worry about. That's not in the UN SDGs. But for the most part, they overlap well. And for us, the starting point is not what are we going to invest in today, but what are all the companies that are true impact companies out there. We don't invest in banks for the most part. They're not agents of change, but some do things that would be. So there's a micro lender. It's called a bank, but it does micro lending in Indonesia. We have another one that does the same thing basically in India. And those will be companies that are identified as impact companies. And then we look into how they operate and whether they do what we think they do and build out our universe that way. And the remittances company that I mentioned, that will be in there. But there are many things that we don't invest in. Another way of thinking about it is there are lots of companies that do water. They're the companies that bring water to New York or to London, and they've done it the same way as they've done it for decades. We're not interested in that. What we're interested in is those, again, agents of change. So the companies that are making the quality of the water we drink better, bringing water to communities that haven't had safe water before, or who are reducing the losses of water in the system, or better information about where there are problems in our water systems. So those are all those agents that we will invest in. Yep. And it's a specific set, and for us, it is really an existential issue that neither we nor any client or anybody who looks at this finds a company and says, "You're kidding me. You're calling that an impact company?"
It's really exciting to see your optimism and enthusiasm for this space. And we hope to see the growth of impact investing continue on the trajectory that we've witnessed in the past few years. Thank you very much, Eric, for joining me today, and look forward to connecting further.
Thank you, Caroline.